So we are on to chapter 10. This is how to condense a semester's worth of information into 2 lectures. But luckily, most of you have experience with, all of you have experience with this. So it really should just be review, although it might take a little bit of clearing the cobwebs out to remember exactly how the payroll stuff goes. So chapter 10, and also, so you don't, we're kind of switching gears obviously a little bit here. So your tax return problem is not a 1040 this time around. I think it's a 941 that you have to prepare. So if you recall, 941 is the quarterly report that is filed by employers and sent off to the IRS to calculate all of the payroll taxes that have been paid over the quarter. So in our learning objectives here, we're going to look at the tax issues associated with payroll and Form 1040, just kind of a review of why would we be looking at payroll here in this income tax class. Well, obviously, payroll taxes are the calculation, not only of income taxes, also Social Security and Medicare taxes, but how that plays into the information that employees need on their when they file their Form 1040. We're going to review the calculation of income tax withholding. You remember there are those 2 methods, the percentage method, the wage bracket method. I don't think we do anything with the old. Remember when we were in payroll accounting, and even currently, we look at the pre-2019 W-4 form and how the calculation for withholding is done using that. I think this chapter doesn't go through that. It's just the new method. So we'll take a look as well at that W-4 and how we extract the information off of that to use for the calculation of payroll. Also go through the Social Security and Medicare taxes on both wages and tips and that calculation, just a reminder of how that calculation is done. The rules for reporting and paying payroll taxes. So when do we file those 941 reports and those 940 reports, which are for FUTA taxes? When do we file those reports, and then also when are we required to actually pay the tax? If you recall, there are several different payment schedules that we could be subject to, and it all depends on how much the employer owes. In payroll taxes, the more you owe, the quicker they want their money. So we'll do a little refresher of those the schedule for making those deposits. Talk a little bit about deposit penalties. We'll go over that 941 as well. Calculation of self-employment taxes as well. We've kind of already done a lot of that. We did that in chapter 6 quite a bit. I'm trying to think if there was another chapter where we did that. I guess we looked at it a little bit in chapter 4, but just to review that as well. Obviously, that's not really self-employment taxes. They're called payroll taxes, but they're not. When you're doing payroll, you're not really concerned about self-employment taxes because those are the taxes that the employee has to, or the contractor has to take care of on their end. But then we'll do, review the unemployment taxes, FUTA, SUTA, that for 940 that goes along with that. This will be a little bit new for you. So the taxes for household employees and what's called the Schedule H, that actually does pertain to the Form 1040. That is when you have somebody who is considered to be a household employee, so like a nanny, a gardener, if you're lucky enough, a chauffeur, a cook, all that kind of stuff, and they're in the house and they're considered to be an employee of the household. Then there are requirements for the taxpayer to report those taxes and pay those taxes with their Form 1040. So employers normally will pay that and report it on the 941 and make those payments, depending upon the schedule. But when you're an individual taxpayer and you employ somebody like that, the rules are a little bit different. You don't file a 941. You don't make those payments on a quarterly basis. You actually pay it with your income taxes. So we'll take a look at that. Employer payroll reporting requirements. So those end of the year reporting requirements, the W-2, the W-3 form. And finally, we'll look at supplemental wage payments, backup withholding, Form W-9, which pertains to 1099 contractors, how those estimated tax payments are calculated, and this Form 1040-ES, which is simply the form that accompanies estimated tax payments when individuals have to make those payments. Okay, let me see, I think there's another part to the intro, if there's anything that I missed. Any questions before we get into it?